They say Ohio looks peaceful on a map until you realize how many people here never truly left. Beneath its quiet farmlands and postcard towns lies a darker Ohio one, built on loss, tragedy, and the echoes of those who refuse to move on. From prisons that hum with the rage of forgotten inmates, to lighthouses watched over by spirits that never sleep. Every corner of this state holds a story that refuses to fade. Tonight, we'll open the doors to 15 of Ohio's most haunted places, where every whisper, every chill, and every shadow might just be someone still trying to be heard. One, Ohio State Reformatory, Mansfield. The towering stone fortress of the Ohio State Reformatory rises like a Gothic cathedral of punishment, its iron gates groaning as if remembering every soul that ever passed through them. Locals say the air itself shifts when you step inside heavier, colder, as though the building exhales despair. Once a place meant for reform, it became a chamber of misery. Between 1896 and 1990, over 200,000 inmates crossed these halls, and many never truly left. Guards reported whispers that echoed from empty cells, the clank of unseen chains, and shadows pacing along the upper catwalks long after lights out. But the stories that keep ghost hunters awake at night begin in solitary confinement, the hole. No sunlight, no sound except the scurrying of rats. Many prisoners went mad here, scratching words into stone walls that still bear the marks. One guard swore he heard crying from inside a sealed cell. Yet when the door was opened, only silence waited. Visitors have captured orbs of light, sudden drops in temperature, and unseen hands tugging their clothes. Even film crews during the Shawshank Redemption reported strange malfunctions, as though the spirits resented their presence. Skeptics call it imagination, old pipes, drafts, or tricks of light. But those who've stood in the East Cell block, the world's largest freestanding steel cell structure, speak differently. They describe a suffocating presence, a whisper that seems to crawl along your spine. One woman fainted near the warden's office after claiming she saw a man in uniform watching her decades after his recorded death. If you ever find yourself in Mansfield, walk its corridors when night falls. Bring a flashlight and maybe a brave heart. But be warned, the reformatory doesn't like to be ignored. Some say when you leave, something from within might just follow you home. Two, The Ridges, Athens Lunatic Asylum. Perched on a lonely hill above the town of Athens stands The Ridges. Once known as the Athens Lunatic Asylum, a sprawling labyrinth of red brick and silence. Its corridors, now empty, were once filled with the echoes of pain, confusion, and forgotten souls. Built in 1874 as a symbol of care, it became a monument to suffering. Behind its arched windows, thousands of patients endured crude treatments, ice baths, electroshock therapy, and isolation until madness itself became their only companion. But one story rises above them all: the legend of Margaret Schilling. In December of 1978, she vanished inside the hospital. Weeks later, her body was found in an abandoned attic room. The warmth of her decomposing body left an eerie imprint on the floor, a perfect silhouette that, no matter how much they scrubbed, never faded. To this day, visitors claim they can still see it, a pale outline of a woman forever trapped between worlds. At night, Security guards whisper of flickering lights in the upper wings and the sound of footsteps pacing where no one walks. Ghost hunters report shadows darting across the hall, whispers calling their names, and sudden bursts of cold air as if the walls themselves breathe sorrow. Even the nearby cemeteries where hundreds of unnamed graves stretch in rows seem to hum with restless energy. Skeptics call it myth. Locals call it haunted. But those who've stepped into the ridges know there's something deeper, a sadness that clings like mist. Some say Margaret still searches the halls for a way out. Others say she never left because the ridges won't let her. If you dare to visit, don't linger too long near her stain on the floor. They say if you stare at it after midnight, she might just stare back. Der Franklin Castle, Cleveland. On the quiet streets of Cleveland's Franklin Boulevard stands a house that refuses to forget. Franklin Castle. Angst, a mansion draped in tragedy, rumor, and restless spirits. Built in 1881 by Hannes Tiedemann, a wealthy German immigrant, it was meant to be a symbol of pride and prosperity. But soon after its completion, death took hold of the home. One by one, Tiedemann's children died mysterious illnesses. Sudden accidents and grief turned the grand house into a mausoleum. Neighbors whispered that the patriarch's sorrow had twisted into something darker. And the walls began to hide secrets no one dared to speak aloud, behind ornate doors and heavy stone walls. Strange addition appeared secret passageways, hidden rooms, and a narrow staircase that led nowhere. Some believed Tiedemann built them for protection. Others said for punishment. The house, they claim, became a stage for whispered rituals, clandestine meetings, and even murder. Decades later, when new owners moved in, they uncovered bones sealed inside the walls, and a heavy presence that made every breath feel watched. Doors slammed without warning, chandeliers swayed though no wind blew, and faint music drifted from the ballroom long after midnight. Skeptics blame old pipes, uneven floors, and drafty hallways. But those who've stayed the night tell a different story of a woman in black gliding across the upstairs balcony, her eyes hollow, her face pale with eternal grief. They say the spirits here don't scream. They whisper, softly at first, until their voices slip into your dreams. Even now, Franklin Castle remains both beautiful and terrible, a masterpiece of Gothic architecture and human despair. Step inside, and you might feel it, the weight of secrets pressing from the walls, the echo of a family that never found peace. Some places are built to be homes. Others are built to remember. Four, Moonville Tunnel, Zaleski State Forest, deep in the woods of southeastern Ohio, swallowed by trees and silence, lies the Moonville Tunnel, a forgotten relic of the 1800s that seems to breathe with the ghosts of the past. Once part of a remote rail line, it carried miners and travelers through the hills of Vinton County, but isolation made it dangerous. The tracks ran through wild country with no nearby town for miles. And when accidents happened, as they often did, there was no one to hear the screams echoing off the stone walls. The most famous spirit said to linger here is the Lantern Man, believed to be the ghost of a railroad worker who met his end beneath a train's steel wheels one dark night. Locals say his head was severed, and now his restless soul still walks the tracks. swinging a dim lantern in search of it. On foggy nights, travelers report seeing the faint orange glow moving deep inside the tunnel, a light that vanishes the moment you call out to it. Others claim to hear the shrill whistle of a long-gone locomotive, followed by the heavy rumble of phantom wheels rattling through the earth. For years, thrill seekers and ghost hunters have visited the site, leaving offerings and graffiti along the blackened walls. But the forest seems to guard its secrets. Radios cut out, phones lose signal, and even the bravest visitors speak in hushed tones once inside. Some feel a rush of icy air. Others hear footsteps behind them, though no one follows. Skeptics call it a legend, a tale to scare hikers and teenagers. Yet those who've seen the lanterns glow, who felt the chill of unseen eyes watching from the dark, leave Moonville with trembling hands and one shared truth. The tunnel doesn't just echo with sound, it remembers. And when the night is still, it whispers the names of those who never made it through. Five, Malabar Farm State Park, Lucas. Tucked among the rolling hills of Richland County lies Malabar Farm State Park, a peaceful stretch of Ohio countryside with a past that's anything but quiet. Once the home of Pulitzer Prize-winning author Louis Bromfield, the estate exudes rustic charm, white fences, winding dirt roads, and the smell of old wood and autumn leaves. But when the sun dips behind the tree line, the farm changes. The laughter of visitors fades into whispers, and the wind through the fields begins to sound almost human. The most enduring tale here is that of the Seeley Rose murders, a tragedy that still stains the land. In 1896, a young woman named Seeley Rose poisoned her parents and brother after being forbidden to marry a local boy. Her confession was chillingly calm, and she was sent to the nearby Lima State Hospital for the criminally insane. The farmhouse where the murders happened once stood on this property, and locals swear her spirit never left. Visitors report seeing a young woman in white wandering near the old barn, her eyes distant, her dress fluttering without wind. Sometimes, a faint voice whispers the same words Seeley once spoke in court. I just wanted them to be quiet. But she isn't the only ghost said to walk the grounds. Late at night, rangers have seen lights flicker in the main house when no one's inside, doors closing with deliberate weight, and piano music echoing faintly from empty rooms, perhaps Bromfield himself, still writing by candlelight. Skeptics say it's nothing more than local lore, but Malabar Farm has a way of convincing even the doubters. There's a strange stillness after dark, as though the soil remembers every life and loss it has ever held. Walk the trails at twilight, and you might feel that electric pull between past and present, between the living and those who refuse to let go. The Buxton Inn, Granville. Nestled in the quaint village of Granville stands the Buxton Inn, a charming brick tavern that has been welcoming guests, both living and otherwise, since 1812. By daylight, it feels warm and timeless, with creaking floors, candlelit dinners, and fireplaces that whisper history. But after midnight, when the lamps dim and the halls fall silent, the inn begins to reveal its secrets. Shadows move where no one walks. Footsteps echo up the narrow staircase, and if you listen closely, you might hear the faint rustle of a gown brushing the walls. The most famous spirit here is the Lady in Blue, believed to be Major Buxton's beloved hostess, Ethel Bonnie Boonell. She died in the inn during the early 1900s, but her perfume, a soft floral scent, still lingers in room 9. Guests have awakened to see her standing at the foot of their bed, her figure glowing faintly in pale blue light before vanishing without a sound. Others claim to have seen her reflection in old mirrors, watching from behind with a gentle, knowing smile. But Bonnie isn't alone. The ghost of Major Buxton himself has been seen near the front parlor, and cold spots bloom suddenly in rooms that were once his favorite. Even horses are said to react nervously near the old carriage house, where whispers of long-departed travelers seem to rise with the dust. Skeptics insist it's just creaking wood and flickering gas lights. Yet employees, guests, and paranormal investigators tell the same story, that Buxton Inn holds a strange, comforting energy, as if its former residents refused to leave because they loved it too much in life. Step inside on a quiet night, and you may feel it too, a soft chill, a familiar scent, and the ghostly grace of the Lady in Blue, forever checking in but never checking out. Seventh, Punderson Manor, Newbury, in the heart of Ohio's Punderson State Park, surrounded by misty woods and a still, black lake, stands Punderson Manor, a grand English Tudor-style lodge whose beauty hides a haunting melancholy. By day, the manor feels peaceful, even picturesque. But when night falls and fog drifts in from the lake, the building transforms into something else entirely, a place where time bends, and the echoes of the past seem to rise from the water itself. The legend begins with the manor's builder, W.W.B. Cleveland, who reportedly ended his life on the property in the 1920s, leaving behind unfinished dreams and unfinished rooms. Later, when the estate was converted into a luxury lodge, guests began reporting strange sights, a man in early-century clothing pacing the upper hallways, voices whispering through the vents, and heavy footsteps echoing in empty corridors. One story, told by staff for decades, chills even the most skeptical visitors. Late one evening, a worker entering the dining hall found a full-size banquet laid out on the long table, every place set. Candles burning bright, yet not a single guest in sight. As he stood frozen, the flames suddenly flickered out, plunging the room into darkness. When the lights returned moments later, the table was bare. Others speak of apparitions by the lake, a woman in gray who drifts across the water, her reflection rippling, but her figure untouched by the breeze. Some believe she waits for someone who never returned home. Others think she's a remnant of the manor's tragic past. Rangers still hear strange sounds at night, faint laughter in empty rooms, footsteps on staircases that lead nowhere. Whether it's memory, imagination, or something beyond, Punderson Manor carries an energy that refuses to fade. Visit on a fog-covered night, and you might sense it too, the unseen guests of a party that never truly ended. In Old Licking County Jail, Newark, at the corner of West Main Street in Newark, stands the Porby 1 Old Licking County Jail, Make-A-Wee. Its weathered stone walls still radiating the chill of 100 broken souls. Built in 1889, This four-story fortress of limestone once symbolized law and order, but inside, it became a crucible of rage, despair, and death. The cells were small, the air heavy, and the screams of the condemned echoed through iron bars like a hymn for the damned. Today, long after its closure, the building remains eerily alive, a place where history refuses to rest. Visitors often speak first of the cold. Not a draft, but a sharp, unnatural chill that creeps under the skin. Paranormal investigators have recorded disembodied voices calling from the cell blocks and sudden spikes in EMF readings near the old women's ward. One infamous inmate, Carl Atherington, a young prohibition officer, was beaten to death by a mob in 1931 after killing a local saloon owner in self-defense. Some say his spirit still roams the halls, seeking justice he never received. Guards once reported doors slamming on their own, keys turning in locks, and the faint smell of cigar smoke, though smoking had long been banned. Others tell of a sobbing woman in the upper cells, believed to be the ghost of a prisoner who took her own life after losing her child. Her cries echo faintly through the stairwell, especially after midnight, when the courthouse clock strikes 12. Those who dare to enter the basement often describe whispers brushing past their ears, icy hands on their shoulders, and a pressure in the chest as if the jail itself remembers what it's done. Skeptics can offer a dozen explanations, but even they grow quiet in the dark. The old Licking County Jail doesn't roar, it mourns. And if you listen closely, you might hear it grieving still, one heartbeat at a time, for the lives it took and the souls it keeps. Samoa, Sedumsville Rectory, Cincinnati, tucked away on Delhi Avenue, overlooking the Ohio River, stands the Sedumsville Rectory, a stately brick house that once served as a residence for priests. By daylight, it looks almost ordinary, its tall windows and cross-topped roof blending into the quiet neighborhood. But when darkness falls, the air grows heavy. The lights flicker, and the rectory begins to breathe with something unseen, something ancient, restless, and cold. Built in the 1880s beside a long-demolished church, the rectory was once a place of devotion, yet whispers of tragedy soon clung to it. Locals speak of priests who fell into despair, of rituals performed in secret, of cries that echoed through the night when no parishioner remained. Some say the energy within the building shifted from sacred to sorrowful, leaving behind a shadow that never left. Paranormal teams who've investigated the house report some of Ohio's most chilling evidence growls captured on EVP recorders, shadows darting across walls, and a suffocating sense of dread in the basement. One visitor claimed to have been scratched by invisible hands after mocking the spirits. Another said he heard the word "repent" whispered directly into his ear. Even animals seem to sense it. Dogs refuse to go near the front steps, their fur bristling before they bolt into the street. And then there's the attic, the heart of the rectory's darkness. Investigators describe a sudden temperature drop and the unmistakable sound of footsteps pacing just above. Though the space is sealed, some believe a former priest took his life there, his tortured spirit trapped between faith and guilt. Skeptics dismiss it as superstition, yet every visitor leaves with the same uneasy feeling, as though the walls themselves are watching. The Sedumsville Rectory stands as a paradox, a house built for the holy, now whispered to be one of Ohio's most haunted places. If you ever step inside, say a prayer, not just for yourself, but for whatever still lingers there, waiting for absolution that may never come. Route 10. Fudge Road Bridge, Crybaby Bridge, Gratis, Preble County. Down a lonely stretch of gravel road near the small town of Gratis lies the Fudge Road Bridge, better known by its chilling nickname, Crybaby Bridge. It's a place swallowed by fog and legend, where the cries of something or someone echo through the darkness long after midnight. By day, the bridge seems harmless, a simple metal span over a shallow creek. But at night, when the mist rolls in and the woods grow silent, locals swear the air changes heavy, electric. Waiting, the story varies depending on who tells it, but the ending is always the same: a child lost, a mother's grief, and a haunting that refuses to fade. Some say a desperate woman, shunned by her family, brought her infant here in the dead of night and, in a moment of madness, dropped the baby into the black water below before taking her own life. Others claim it was an accident, a carriage overturned on the bridge during a storm. Yet the child's spirit was never at peace. Visitors brave enough to test the legend are told to stop their car in the center of the bridge, turn off the engine, and wait in silence. If you dare to whisper, "I have your baby," you might hear it, a faint cry rising from beneath the bridge, echoing through the fog, sometimes followed by tiny handprints appearing on your car windows, as if something unseen is trying to climb inside. Skeptics insist it's the wind, the creek, imagination playing tricks in the dark. But those who've stood there alone will tell you otherwise. They speak of a deep chill that seeps into your bones, the sound of soft footsteps behind you, and the sense that you are no longer alone. The locals say you should never linger too long because the mother still roams the road, searching for the child she lost. And if you're not careful, she might mistake you for the one who took it. Hocking Hills State Park, Hocking County, hidden within the deep forests and sandstone caves of southern Ohio. Hocking Hills State Park is a masterpiece of nature waterfalls that whisper, cliffs that glow in twilight, and trails that twist through ancient rock. But when night descends and the mist drifts through the gorges, the park's beauty takes on a different kind of life. The locals say the woods here never truly sleep. They watch, they remember, and sometimes they answer back. The most enduring legend is that of the woman in white. A spectral figure said to wander near Ash Cave and Old Man's Cave. She's described as tall, pale, her gown flowing like smoke, her face hidden behind a curtain of long hair. Some believe she was a settler's wife who lost her husband in the wilderness. Others claim she's the ghost of a traveler who fell to her death from the cliffs above. Hikers have reported hearing her sobs echo through the gorge, and a few insist they've seen her reflection ripple in the pools beneath the falls even when no one stood nearby. At Whispering Cave, the air itself seems to speak. Visitors describe low murmurs and distant voices that vanish the moment they turn their heads. Rangers, too, have reported strange lights weaving through the forest, bluish orbs that dance just beyond reach. Cameras fail, compasses spin, and the woods grow unnervingly quiet, as if holding their breath. Skeptics say it's wind, humidity, or imagination. But those who've camped beneath the stars here tell a different story of footsteps crunching on the gravel when no one walks behind them, of laughter that turns to wailing in the dark. The forest feels alive, ancient, aware. And when you leave, you can't shake the feeling that something followed you out of the gorge. Something that doesn't want to be forgotten. Fairport Harbor Marine Museum and Lighthouse. Fairport Harbor, perched high above the rocky shores of Lake Erie. The Fairport Harbor Marine Museum and Lighthouse cuts a lonely figure against the gray horizon. Built in 1825, it has guided sailors for nearly 2 centuries, its beam piercing fog and storm alike. But when the waves crash hard against the break wall and the wind howls through the lantern room, the lighthouse tells a different story, one of loyalty, loss, and a haunting unlike any other in Ohio. The keepers who once tended this light lived lives of solitude, watching over the lake through bitter winters and endless nights. Many grew old here. Some never left. Visitors today still speak of a presence that lingers in the tower, footsteps climbing the spiral stairs when no one else is inside. The faint scent of tobacco in rooms long sealed, and cold drafts that circle the lantern like unseen hands. But it's not the human spirits that make this place famous. It's the ghost cat. For decades, museum staff and guests have reported a small gray cat roaming the building, brushing against legs, curling on windowsills, and darting around corners only to vanish into thin air. Some even hear its soft purr at closing time, long after the last visitor has gone. No one knows where it came from. Perhaps a beloved pet of a former keeper, but everyone who's felt it agrees it's no ordinary cat. It seems protective, even playful, as if guarding the lighthouse and its stories. Still, there's a melancholy beneath the charm. Late at night, when the beacon is dark and the lake is a mirror of stars, people say they hear faint cries carried by the wind, not quite human, not quite animal. Maybe it's the waves. Maybe it's something older. But one thing is certain, the Fairport Harbor Lighthouse never sleeps. Its light may rest, but its spirits, both human and feline, keep eternal watch over the restless waters below. Northern Schwartz Castle, Columbus. In the heart of Columbus's historic German village stands the Schwartz Castle. Jati, a strange and brooding structure that seems forever caught between beauty and madness. Its dark brick walls and narrow turrets rise sharply from the quiet street, a relic of one man's obsession and perhaps his curse. Built in the mid-1800s by Frederick William Schwartz, a wealthy but eccentric pharmacist, the castle was meant to be his masterpiece, a fortress of stone and solitude. But what began as ambition soon spiraled into something far more haunting. Neighbors whispered that Schwartz trusted no one. He installed secret passageways, hidden staircases, and trap doors that led to nowhere. He was seen pacing the tower late at night, muttering to himself, lantern in hand. When his fiancée betrayed him, eloping with another man, something inside him broke. He became reclusive, sealing himself within the castle's walls, convinced he could find immortality through alchemy. Some say he performed strange experiments in the basement. Others claim he was driven to madness by loneliness and grief when Schwartz died alone in the house. The town thought his story had ended, but the castle didn't let him go. Residents who moved in afterwards spoke of heavy footsteps echoing on the stairwell, lights flickering in rooms without electricity, and a man's shadow pacing endlessly by the upper windows. In the tower, visitors have reported a suffocating pressure, as though unseen eyes were watching. The faint scent of burning oil sometimes fills the air, followed by a whisper low, guttural, and almost desperate. Skeptics dismiss it as legend, yet even they lower their voices when passing the house at night. The Schwartz Castle stands as both monument and warning, the dream of a man who built his own prison, now trapped forever within it. And if you pause too long outside its gates, you might hear the creak of the tower door and a voice from the dark whisper, "I never left." Jati 14. Historic Everett Covered Bridge, Peninsula, Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Hidden deep in the lush woodlands of the Cuyahoga Valley National Park lies the historic Everett Covered Bridge, its crimson timbers stretching quietly over Furnace Run Creek. By day, it's a postcard of old Ohio charm sunlight filtering through the slats, water glimmering beneath, hikers snapping photos on their way through the park. But as dusk descends and fog begins to coil around the trees, the bridge changes. The woods grow silent, the air thickens, and the past begins to whisper through the beams. The legend is simple, but it clings to the place like dew. In the mid-1800s, a young farmer named Josiah Everett was crossing the bridge during a storm when his horse panicked. Both were thrown into the flooded creek below. His body was found the next morning. But the horse and Josiah's spirit were said never to return. Since then, travelers after dark have reported hearing the frantic clatter of hooves on wooden planks, followed by a splash and a desperate cry that vanishes into the night. Others claim to see a flickering lantern swinging just beyond the bridge, as if someone or something is still searching the water for what was lost. But the haunting doesn't end there. Couples who walk the bridge hand in hand at night sometimes feel a sudden, icy grip between their fingers, as if a third hand has joined them. Drivers who stop their cars in the center of the span say the engine stalls, and a mist shaped like a man begins to form in the headlights. Paranormal investigators have caught strange voices on recorders soft, pleading, as though someone is begging not to be left behind. Rangers dismiss the stories as superstition, yet few stay long after sunset. The bridge may be the only remaining covered bridge in the park, but it carries more than history. It carries echoes. And when the rain begins to fall, and the creek below churns to life, you might feel Josiah Everett beside you, still trying to cross. Yacht 15, Madison Seminary, Madison. Standing tall along North Lake Street, the Madison Seminary looms like a ghost of every life it ever held, a brick labyrinth of sorrow, memory, and whispers. Built in the mid-1800s, it began as a school, then became a refuge for Civil War widows, nurses, and eventually the mentally ill. Each era left behind its own scars. And today, the building hums with echoes that time refuses to silence. By day, It's a historic landmark. By night, it's something far older, a living museum of restless souls. Those who enter speak first of the air, unnaturally still, as if the entire structure is holding its breath. In the upper floors, known as the ladies' ward, visitors often sense someone walking just behind them. Doors open without warning. Soft crying drifts from empty rooms. One of the most frequently seen apparitions is Elizabeth Stiles, a nurse and Union spy who once lived here. Her presence is said to radiate calm. The witnesses describe a feeling of deep sorrow, as if she mourns not her death, but those she couldn't save. Then there's the attic, the heart of the seminary's darkness. Paranormal investigators have captured chilling EVPs there, faint voices saying, "Help me," and "Don't go." One team recorded the sound of heavy boots pacing above them, though no one else was inside. Others tell of a figure standing in the window, a man in 19th century attire, staring down at the lawn before fading into nothing. Even seasoned ghost hunters admit the building has a weight unlike any other, as though each spirit presses against the walls, desperate to be remembered. Skeptics call it folklore, a byproduct of old wiring and creaking floors. But those who've spent a night inside leave changed, pale, silent, and watchful. The Madison Seminary doesn't scream for attention. It waits, patiently. Because here, history never really ended, it just kept breathing in the dark. So, after walking through prisons where the walls still whisper, and bridges where cries echo through the fog, one question remains. If these are Ohio's haunted places, what secrets are hiding in the next state over? Every corner of America has its ghosts, and we're just getting started. In the next episode, we'll cross the border into stories even darker, even stranger. So if you love uncovering the truth buried beneath the silence, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and follow the trail, because the next haunting might be closer than you think.